Russian had come to Kottayam and curing for cure of pension. And the stay went on. Went on, and then he called his family also. Now these are the circumstances which will say you are for uncertain period. The moment you say that I am coming on some visa, tourist visa, and you say that I am for uncertain period, I want to stay legally or illegal, that will not. And Reserve Bank clearly says that we will not decide the residential status. One of the slides which I have mentioned, it says that court will decide. This is the guidance, but we will not be making decision on residential status.
But in few cases, like the person opt for TRC, transfer of, in order to get the relaxation in the custom baggage rules, then itself clarifies the intention that I am returning back. So those kind of the situation confirms about the
so that is the concept which is not mentioned in FEMA Act. The next slide here, which is the concept known as a person resident but not permanently resident in India, which is flowing out of current account rules, which says that for the purpose of this item, means above, which is you are emitting money for close relatives, abroad. For the purpose of this item, a person resident in India on account of his employment or deputation of a specified duration, irrespective of length of period, be it 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, or for a specific job or assignment, the duration of which does not exceed 3 years, sorry, it is 3 years, is considered to be a person resident but not permanently resident in India. Now, if such person wants to acquire immovable property, it is a difficult task. If such person got your point. So this is not coming out of definition, which should come out, but they have clarified in current account rules.
The head office deputes the employee of the branch. Then there is a relaxation, right? Under FEMA 781.
Come again?
To his question,
Ah.
where employee is deputed by the head office of the branch.
Right.
Then there is a relaxation, right? He can receive abroad directly.
I think better to seek approval, because what it says, you bring salary Indian, then remit for maintenance.
No, sir. If a citizen of foreign state resident in India, deputed from the head office to the branch office subsidiary on JB in India, can receive salary directly abroad. FEMA 10.
Foreign currency accounts by a person resident in India.
781.
Okay, I'm honestly not aware. If that is the limit available, and if you can,
No, you can.
75%.
Yeah,
75% subject to payment of tax. Right.
100% done.
Now, okay, I stand corrected. Thanks.
So, just a clarification. We have the point of employment and business outside India to undertake those activities. Now, if a person, okay, he's got a company in India, a person who has a company in India, okay, the company has a rough office outside India, he's going there to undertake activities out there, to promote his business and everything out there, okay, he's been regularly doing that for past couple of years, okay, as per income tax, because of those number of days calculation, he's an NRI. Well, in this FEMA case also, he'll be still considered as a resident or an NRI, because he's going there only for the purpose of the Indian company and taking out the activities.
Exactly. I would not believe he is a non-resident of family.
Resident.
You look at his visa.
He doesn't have any work permit or anything, it is Indian.
Exactly. This is very good. So, in my view, is such type of cases when I am merely visiting abroad.
Yeah,
Maybe the
but
duration would be,
number of
yeah,
days
so yeah, number of days could increase beyond 180 days.
Yes.
Still under FEMA you would be resident.
Okay.
Can the foreigner, with an intention to purchase immovable property in India, would become resident Indian for a limited purpose for a particular year, and then subsequently, in the subsequent years, he goes out after acquiring the property?
I don't think that will. I don't know how Adnan Sami is owning property and his planning is.
So even some Russians have acquired.
Russians have acquired to private limited companies. They have directly also acquired, but they know the provisions, and generally what they have done is Russians have acquired property in Goa by way of setting up a company in India, and they say these companies will be doing some, say, hotel business or say any other legitimate business, and that company is acquired most of the time. That is how they have done, but that is illegal. Illegal.
Certain individuals have.
Yeah, but that is not permissible. That is not permissible, and actions have been taken.
That is prohibited by Goa enactment that they do not want NRIs to come in and
Maybe.
That is off late.
But for
Since
FEMA,
last 2
they
years.
have had
No, FEMA-
directly restricting such kind of a thing that.
Now, how do you become a resident? Are you
Say,
resident?
but say for example, somebody who's come over here and taken up an employment there for a period of say 1.5 years,
think, if you say really so, if you facts and circumstances, if you examine more in detail, it will create a confusion. It is more of an investment. If you have acquired property and if you say I am on employment, just examine where his family is. His entire family is in India. You will find most of the time you will find no, they are staying there, their schooling is there, everything is there. You are merely acquiring because you want for leisure. There's a deficiency of vitamin D in Russia. They say Goa is the best place. No, honestly, I'm telling the truth. It's the best place to be in India and enjoy. So that is the reason.
So if it is the entire family to move over here, then you can do
I'm not saying if it is moved, it will. But the point is when you are examining FEMA, gather all the facts and evidence, and you apply the tiebreaker test, which is under the direct examination. It will give you some guidance, and visa will play a vital role. If his family is here, if children are going in school, then definitely then you say that intention is to stay in India. I am becoming resident. Right?
Just one point. For this what I believe that there is one clause in FEMA which says that as soon as he becomes non-resident, he has to sell his property to one Indian resident. I'm not too sure, but I think there is something like that. If he was non-resident, when he comes to India, he purchases one property when he becomes resident. And as soon as
So you are a foreign citizen.
I'm a foreign citizen. I come to India for say employment, and I become resident now. So if I buy some property, immovable property in India, and now if I want to go out, so as soon as I become non-resident again, then I have to sell off that property.
I am honestly not a Paresh bhai, idea.
I'm not too sure, but something like that.
See, there is a notification 21 on immovable properties, where it says that a foreign citizen of an Indian origin wants to sell the
That is Indian origin.
Yeah.
You are talking of Indian origin or pure Bora Firangi? Firangi.
Yeah, foreign citizens.
So if a foreign citizen has an immovable property in India, he must be a resident Indian prior to the acquisition of immovable properties. Now he is going abroad. That means he is immigrating Indian, resident Indian. So he is covered by holding abroad the section 6(4) of the FEMA. That's the answer. That's something. Under notification 21, if any immovable property is held by foreign citizen, he can sell it only to Indian citizen who is a resident Indian if the property is agricultural properties.
He can sell or he has to sell?
He can sell whenever he want to sell. Whenever he want to sell. If he gets, he has a holding approval. He has a holding approval as 6(4). There is no compulsion. There is no compulsion.
There is no compulsion, that's what. But person of Indian origin, there is an interesting restriction. Person of Indian origin, okay? He is holding a property. He wants to sell that property to another non-resident Indian or person of Indian origin. He cannot, without approval. A very subtle provision which says that BIO must sell to resident Indian. That is there. And one has to seek approval of RBI if he wants to sell to NRI. FAQ says that you can sell it to NRI. But if you go to master circular, even if you go to notification, it is clearly saying that BIO can sell property only to resident Indian.
Otherwise, they should take permission.
Yeah.
With permission, it is allowed to sell from PI to NRI.
Yeah. And you will get also permission.
Manoj, say there is an Indian company, it has got a branch abroad. Now the Indian company sends its employee to that overseas branch. Now for that employee, can we take a stand that he's gone abroad to take up employment? Because he is actually going to a branch of.
Yes.
So I can take that.
Yes,
step,
yes.
right? Yeah. So it's not taking up employment to an overseas company.
No,
with an
no,
overseas
no,
company.
no.
Right?
Yes. But if I am going on a visit, on a business visa, it will not.
No, not business.
Yeah. I think
Foreigners from Pakistan or the other countries like China and all, are they allowed to invest?
no, I'll come to that. I'll just go again. We are repeating liberalized evidence scheme for resident individuals. The capital amount convertibility, which is in India, it started with $25,000, went up to 2 lakh, and now we have seen the reduction. And as I mentioned, there was an August 14, 2013 circular which said that now it is not available for acquisition of immovable property directly or indirectly. The permissible transactions under the scheme include acquisition of shares, both listed and unlisted, of an overseas company, debt instrument, mutual fund and any other asset outside India. For undertaking transaction under this scheme, resident individual, okay, must use the prescribed application form and file, that's fine. LRS also includes remittance towards gift, as I mentioned. A resident individual is permitted to gift in rupee to NRI and PIO. So that is the transaction which were otherwise prohibited under 3B. It says that now you can make gift to non-resident Indian in his NRO account. Okay, the resident Indian can gift to NRI to his NRO account. Remittance. Yeah, this says that family can be consolidated for the purpose of remittance. If there are 4 of members, you can club that remittance. Okay. Now this is an amendment which has been referred to. That the LRS scheme, when it was introduced, it says that you can invest in listed as well as unlisted shares. So the general interpretation was that even you can incorporate a company or set a business venture overseas, you become subscriber to the memorandum of overseas company and you remit money towards setting up a company. But one find the Reserve Bank felt that no, that is not our intention. What we are allowing in the 2 lakh is a pure investment. So if you are investing as a portfolio or as a private equity investor, that's fine. But if it is a business venture and you want to hold directorship and be involved in the business, that is not the intention. And they came out with an FAQ that setting up is not allowed. But now, from this 14th August 2013, when this circular has come, they have inserted regulation 20A in notification 120, which says that the resident individual will be allowed to incorporate company overseas under notification 120, subject to all the compliances. So if you are, here the advantage is that you need not have net worth of 75,000. When you are looking at outbound notification, most of you are aware that you can remit up to your net worth. A company, a partnership firm can remit up to its net worth. Okay? And at times due to the cost inflation, say for example you have to remit extra money or there is an additional requirement, one can use this route up to $75,000 and here there is no requirement of net worth. The individual need not have that much net worth, everybody can put it. Second thing is that it should be only used for the purpose of operating company. That means I can't set up a wholly owned subsidiary and that wholly owned subsidiary is again setting up a step down operating company. This is not allowed under 75,000 scheme for individuals. So it should be invested in a company which is an operating company directly. And there is a reporting requirement. I am not going to do a separate session on that.
One cannot become the regional promoter of the company and incorporate outside India.
Now you can. You can become promoter. Individual. That's what the scheme is. That's what the amendment is. That's what the amendment is. So you can now become promoter. You can incorporate the company. You can incorporate up to 75,000.
Yes, network limit is applicable because it is saying that one has to
No borrowing. No borrowing. Yeah, maybe. There cannot be borrowing to use 75,000. That is fine. But if my liquid assets, my assets are there and I have, there is no requirement to say I am borrowing from bank and I can remit. Internal borrowing or I am liquidating some assets and remitting it around. But unlike the compliance of obtaining CS certificate or net worth, all the requirement is mentioned.
Once in relation to the amendment which came that now you can no longer acquire immovable property to NRI. But those who have already acquired immovable property to NRS previously, now in relation to that property, there is no clarification like how should I deal with it. Today if I transfer that property.
I think holding is allowed.
Holding is allowed, but there is nothing in relation to
Selling.
yeah, so today if I sell that property, I had acquired it say 5 years ago for 10. Today it becomes 5 times. So am I allowed to retain that money outside? Should I get it back or
No, if you are resident Indian,
Yes,
you can't.
resident Indian.
Then you can't keep your money overseas. Under which regulation you will keep overseas? Foreign currency accounts by person resident in India. If you look at that notification, I don't think you are allowed to.
But then right now what it says is I can continue to hold that property. Am I allowed to transfer that property to any person? So
Transfer is allowed. Transfer is allowed, yeah. So maybe up to 75,000 on liquidation, you say that I still want to retain 75,000 there in bank account and I am planning some further investment maybe, but other additional thing that you will have to repatriate back to India. Maybe one should repatriate.
And one more thing that was there was, now they came with a clarification that you can have investments in unlisted securities also. But what was the conclusion which came about was that previously was unlisted securities allowed or not allowed. So people had considered, because the wordings were listed or otherwise unlisted was allowed and people had made investments.
Unlisted was specifically mentioned prior to 14th August 2013. Yeah. And that's why the confusion. Since it was categorically mentioned, the residents went and set up company overseas. Let's just run through quickly these deposits by non-residents, which is on NRE and NRO account and FCNR account. I will not go into much detail. This table is otherwise is self-explanatory. You can later on go through that. Only thing that now the rates on NRE account are quite attractive, and therefore many times bankers also are suggesting to the client holders that please transfer your NRO account to NRE account. And this is what is permissible now, because you did not repatriate back from NRO to overseas and then bring it back. Now NRO to NRE is directly transfer is possible. And advantage should be that NRO interest, which otherwise is taxable, NRE interest would be tax free, and that will be the advantage, right? So there's a circular 117 which says that you can transfer fund from NRO to NREs and subject to the overall ceiling of $1 million scheme. Now $1 million scheme is available to NRI and PIO, which is called remittance of assets. So for residents it is 75,000, whereas for non-resident Indian or person of Indian origin, if they want to repatriate from India to their home country or wherever, the limit is $1 million per financial year. I think on foreign direct investment, you will have a separate session, and I will not go much into details. Suffice to say that FDI is quite vibrant in India. India with huge population base and long-term story being still popular in India. We all know about the age criteria of 18 to 54. The workforce population, as they call it, is highest in India as compared to China. So still there is a lot of money flowing in. And just to mention here about comparison about China and India, the China started its liberalization in 1979, and whereas we started in 1991. The objective of China to open up its economy was to create more employment. Whereas in 1991, when we opened up, our primary intention was to bring foreign exchange, which was dire need, because we were in short of foreign exchange. So we were quite liberal on portfolio investment. And China being socialist country, it never had a robust stock market as India has. Entrepreneurship was not allowed to flourish in China. So China, you will find that still there is stock market is not so developed. Whereas India wanted quick money, and quick money can come only on portfolio investment and not in foreign direct investment, because FDI is a process which takes long time. Any investor who wants to set up a business setup, create business presence in India, they will look at political situation, the laws, the regulatory environment, the partner available or whatever. So FDI is a long-run process, and that was the intention. We were quite liberal on portfolio investments. We wanted quick money, which has come in. And that is the preamble, and of course still we have moved in very phased manner so far as opening up our sector. As we know, there is still hue and cry about retail, right? FDI and multi-brand retail. A lot of hue and cry, still we are not allowing, whereas China, if you go, there is open. Multi-brand retail is open from day one. There is nothing like, we still move in phased manner. This is a process, as we know, Reserve Bank wants to track each and every remittance coming to India, and that's one more principle. In case there is any remittance coming to India, RBI would like to monitor, be it on current account or capital account. So this is the process. If there is a remittance of share application money or equity investment, you have to report within 30 days, then you allot the share, again you report, and this is the compliance. Now it says the citizen, what is prohibited is citizen or entities of Bangladesh can invest with approval of FIPP. Further, a citizen of entities of Pakistan can invest subject to approval of FIPP in sectors or activities other than defense, space and atomic energy. So still, Pakistan and Bangladesh, we have some restriction. We do not allow them to come to India subject to government approval. But if Pakistani nationals are incorporating a company in UK and they still continue to be Pakistani nationals, there is no prohibition. It becomes a UK company. UK company is investing in India. That's fine. The notification 20 has again its sub-schedules there. It's a bit large notification. You have schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Schedule 1 is for FDI, what we are talking. Schedule T is for portfolio, 2 is for portfolio investment by FII, and now there is some change. I mean, not change, but they have introduced a new terminology as registered foreign portfolio investor, RFPI, and there are separate set of rules. You have Schedule 3, which is available to NRI. Schedule 4, which is available to purchase and sale of shares or convertible debentures by NRI on non-repetition basis. Okay, so you can invest on non-repetition basis. Purchase and sale of securities. Schedule 5 is about other than shares and securities by person resident outside India. 6 is by venture capital funds. 7 talks about Indian depository receipts. Schedule 8 talks about qualified foreign investors. Now, QFI is the latest entrant to this portfolio category because this is the time when, with whatever shortcomings were there in foreign exchange inflow, we felt that let us allow even foreign nationals to invest in Indian securities. So otherwise, portfolio sector was open only to FII and NRI or PI. With the introduction of QFI, even a foreign national individual can qualify under QFI category and he can open. There's only one window clearance, which is through depository. I think you have to approach SEBI, but SEBI doesn't regulate. SEBI has delegated powers to depository, and depository will do detailed KYC and subject to get qualified as a QFI, and then you can invest in Indian stock market. The type of instruments you can have: equity shares, you can have, or compulsory and mandatorily convertible debentures, or compulsory and mandatorily convertible preference shares. So these are the type of instrument only can issue. You cannot have partly convertible or other non-convertible debentures. Everything would be regarded as a borrowing, and therefore you must have instruments which are compulsorily convertible into equity shares or preference shares which are convertible into equity shares. There is no guidance available in terms of when should conversion take place. So it will be regulated by the Companies Act. If Companies Act allows whatever the duration, it will get regulated by that. FEMA per se is silent and what should be the tenure of non-conversion. You can even structure your debt funding through convertible instruments which are compulsory convertible, but for certain duration, as may be agreeable, it would remain non-convertible and one will be able to pay interest. And as you would know, if it is an interest, it's a debt instrument, usually you will find it is routed to Cyprus. If it is preference share, you will find it is usually routed to Mauritius, because Mauritius-India treaty is silent on withholding tax on interest, whereas Cyprus treaty clearly says that it will be 10% interest rate on interest. Withholding tax on interest. You have pricing guidelines which says that in case of listed shares, you will follow the SEBI guidelines, and in case of unlisted company, you will follow discounted cash flow. However, investment in an Indian company by way of subscription to memorandum of association can be made at face value without resorting to any prohibition. So this was the kind of representation that even for initial subscription, if you want Indian company to follow TCF, it would create a lot of there is no probably business plan also available. At times you are just concentrating on or just trying to test Indian waters. So they say that there is an amendment which is welcome. And so whatever may be, I think 1 crore is the upper limit. Right? So up to 1 crore you can subscribe and you can have shares being issued at face value. Right issue of shares, it says that in case of listed companies at a price that determined by the company, or in case of unlisted companies at a price which is not less than the price at which the offer on right basis is made to resident shareholders.
Does that mean that in case of right issue, it can be made at a value little higher than the face value or face value without following the DCA?
Yeah, you have to compare resident and non-resident. Now, honestly, I have not tested yet in case of wholly owned subsidiary.
Well, there are both resident as well as
Then
non-resident.
you just say the price.
And both of them can be issued at the same price.
Only thing 56 will have its implication.
Yeah. Apart from 56.
Yeah. Transfer of shares, you can FDI can also take place through transfer of shares. It is just not that fresh or what you call green shoe project is there, and there's an entire new venture coming up. There's an existing company in which Indian promoters is trying to invest, and foreign promoter, foreign company is wanting to invest. That could be a transfer of shares from existing Indian sellers, still be regarded as FDI, subject to again DCF valuation, and there are separate reporting guidelines for transfer of shares from resident to non-resident. Now there is a on the pricing guidelines and the valuation process, the recent RBI policy, not under circular or notification, is still to be issued. But 1st April 2000 policy reads as under, it says that as regards foreign direct investment, it has been decided to withdraw all the existing guidelines relating to the valuation in case of any acquisition or sale of shares, and accordingly such transactions will henceforth be based on acceptable market practices. Operating guidelines will be notified separately. So that's what is a demand of the industry, that every time you can't insist on discounted cash flow, and therefore probably maybe in few months you will find that there is some kind of notification and circular coming out which will set this new intention or implement that new intention. Then conversion price of CCDs or CCP. Now this is an interesting issue. When you say that Reserve Bank always warrants or always wants that if you are issuing a convertible instrument, please make it clear what is the conversion price. And there was a huge debate or huge, say for example, private equity industry. In case of private equity industry, what happens is that investor is looking at X amount of return, right? An Indian promoter would say that, if I am doing well, because say conversion is going to take place after 3 or 5 years. If you say that I want my, say for example, 100 rupee debenture is issued, convertible debenture, and I say that, I'll have disclosed price upfront. Assume for a while that both are agreeing that, each debenture will be converted into 2 equity shares. So your 10 plus 40 is the premium and you are agreeing for that price. Now Indian promoter feels that, probably 3 or 5 years down the line, there is a possibility that, in terms of valuation, it will be much, much higher. And I should have even gone just for one share against one debenture. So that is quite possible. Now it depends on the future events, how the company is going to perform, what is the overall industry scenario, how the market is perceiving the multiples, PE multiples or other things. Even though it is unlisted, there could be peer comparison. So a lot of representation was made that please allow us not to disclose upfront price, but devise some other mechanism. And they say that, if you disclose a formula, that will also be wrong. That will be allowed. So you have now either you disclose upfront price or you disclose a formula based on which price will be. I mean, non-convertible instrument, not convertible, but compulsory convertible instrument will fetch or converted into equity. So disclosure of formula is a must, if not price. Now this conversion price for CCDs and CCPs and put option to non-resident investors. Now there is one more feature where Reserve Bank has not even agreed to FIPP or DIPP. Many times private equity investors their intention is not to remain partner for long. It is not like Hero Honda or Daiichi and Ranbaxy. It is not that intention. My intention is that I would like to make exit between 5-7 years maybe. And you have to provide exit route. So exit route could be either best way is the IPO. And private equity industry, as the worldwide it operates, it says that in case IPO is not possible or in case you are not allowed to give me an exit to strategic investor or some other buyer media, either company will buy me back. That means company will buy back the shares of private equity investor, or at times there were agreements which said that it was compulsory on the part of promoter to buy them out. And therefore there was a buyback arrangement, or that means the investor had a put option. So private equity investor had a put option that he will make you compulsorily buy if IPO or other exit routes are not possible. Initially, the FDI policy, I think of 2011, maybe April or October, they say that no, it is not permissible. If such type of put options are there, it will be regarded as a debt instrument. It is nothing but ECB. And on representation being made by private equity investors and even entrepreneurs that this will kill the entire modus operandi of private equity players, and therefore FIPP amended the policy. Within 8 or 10 days, they came out with a circular that so-and-so para will not apply. So foreign investor can have a put option, but Reserve Bank never agreed to that.